Hello, my name is Brianna, and I'm hoping to post this video on the Blind Eye Movement page, but I will probably also have it on my personal pages as well, so kind of speaking to both audiences. But first of all, I am a survivor of child sexual assault or abuse. Lots of different names for it, and with YouTube and things like that, sometimes we have to be careful about what we say so it doesn't like get blocked or taken down. And I want to try to keep it appropriate in case kids do hear it, because I know kids are online a lot, but also it could help them as well. So I do want to be careful in that aspect. And also, I'm just a regular person. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm, a survivor. And since this will probably be posted on the Blind Eye page, I'm just wanting to clarify that I am just one individual out of a big group of people behind the scenes. And, everything I say may not be exactly how everybody feels or how every survivor feels. So just take it with a grain of salt. And I'm not, going to be perfect at this area. I'm just literally surviving my life too, and want to kind of share something that I thought was super amazing and helpful. And hopefully, if enough schools do it and enough parents are aware that something like this can be done, it can help prevent abuse from happening to future generations. And that's really all our goal is to help prevent or to help kind of walk alongside victims of abuse that have already happened, and then maybe giving parents ideas and tips to kind of survive this whole situation. Because if you're a parent and your child has been abused, that can just be so devastating, and I'm sure very hard on your heart and your mind and even physically. And then if you're a child of abuse, and you've been abused yourself as a child and as you grew up or whatever, that can have a whole nother giant layered terrible cake of problems and symptoms of it and everything like that. So anyways, I just want to let you know that there is a program, and the website says I'm safe, and let's see, it has this little the I'm has like a little red heart on it, just so you kind of know what it looks like. And I'll try to post a link on this video and maybe a picture of it so you know which one is the legit website. Because when I was looking for this, there is a lot of things that are called I'm safe, so you kind of have to dig and see which one is this one that I'm talking about. But it's through, I believe, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and it says I'm safe, a child advocacy center. And then, so I found out about this because I got a flyer, and then from school, from my children's, elementary schools. And then they had all the parents sign if it was okay, which I loved. I loved that the school is in good communication with the parents, not just the kids, not just like telling them whatever they want. The parents get to be involved, and that is very good. So I got a flyer and then a thing to sign saying, like, can your child be included in this class? And they did, and it wasn't like sex education, although that was already like something that happened this year too that was totally different. But this one was more a prevention class, and it taught the kids how to have body safety and what was an appropriate touch, which I do love, because I don't think we had anything like that at the small Christian school that I went to as a kid. And then homeschooling, obviously you probably didn't have that either, unless your parents were just really diligent about explaining that. But if you're homeschooled, you're around a lot less people, and those things are probably not going to happen as easily unless it happened in your home, because if you're homeschooled, you're going to be at home where it would hopefully be safe. But that is not always the case, unfortunately. And sometimes being homeschooled, you can be extra isolated, and you may not even know what abuse is if you don't hear about it, because I didn't hear about it. I thought I was the only one, which was like good and bad. It's awesome that I didn't hear about all this abuse happening in the world and all these crimes happening in the world, but at the same time, I didn't know what abuse was, and therefore I wouldn't know to tell anyone. And I mean, I know my mom did have like little conversations here and there, but for some reason it just didn't click in my brain to that, like, put two and two together, if that makes sense. And it is really tricky as a parent now to know what all to tell children and how far to go, how far to explain things. And it can get really tricky and awkward because you don't want to give them too much. You don't want them to grow up too fast, but you don't want to tell them too little to where someone else is teaching them things and they're teaching them the wrong things, or teaching them, and manipulating them into what is right and wrong. So all that to say is that this program seems really cool, and I haven't dug through like the whole entire website to know if there's any red flags about it, but so far it has a category of kids have rights. And that's not to say like, hey kids, you can disrespect your parents and you have the right to, hurt people or something like that. It's not like that. I'll read you the description just so you kind of get a feel. And I'm telling you guys this because I want all parents to know that this could possibly be an option for your schools. And, if you maybe don't have the right words to say and you don't know how to explain it to your kids, this is a cool thing that they can all kind of learn together. And then everyone's involved and everyone's aware. Teachers are aware, parents are aware, kids are aware, so that everyone's on the same page that if something bad does happen, everyone knows how to communicate this in a safe way, and they're not going to be like, in trouble for it, and they're not going to be isolated because of it or like disowned because they told on somebody that, they were touched in an inappropriate way by an inappropriate person. And yes, it could be a parent doing it, it could be a teacher doing it, it could be a staff member or whatever. So it's cool if everyone's included in this program, because then everyone will know the rules and everyone will know the consequences. So the Kids Have Rights side of this website says the Kids Have Rights program is a program that educates and empowers students, school staff, parents, and caregivers to recognize, prevent, and stop child sexual abuse. The program is taught to kindergarten through 4th grade students. Find out more by clicking the above title. So then you just click on the Kids Have Rights and there's a lot more in there. And then I didn't know about this part, but it also has another side on the right side. It says Darkness to Light, and the Darkness to Light side is a prevention education program designed for adults. This program educates and empowers adults to prevent, recognize, and react responsibly to child sexual abuse. Find out more by clicking the title above. So, and then it even has, this is like a really good thing that I think a lot of, private schools should also incorporate this. And I know there's a fine line between like the public schools, the Christian schools, and then homeschools, or even like private schools in general, because it's not just Christian schools that are private, but they all kind of want to stay separate because they don't want government controlling them, and they want to be able to have, some rights and things like that. And I totally understand that. And that is why, even with me telling you this, look into it yourself. See if there's any red flags that you don't agree with, that you don't want your children to be exposed to, or whatever. Take it with a grain of salt and do your own research. Make sure you trust websites that you're looking into, or trust the classes that are being taught. And because when I saw this at first, I was like, oh, what is this? I didn't know for sure what they were going to be teaching them. So I did try to look into it. And so anyways, one of my favorite parts about this website is there is a mandated reporter training, and that's really cool because I would hope that a lot of the teachers and leaders in churches or schools or wherever can understand like what that really means and what their duties are, so that kids don't fly under the radar and they're getting abused right under their nose and no one can help them because they don't know how to ask for help. They may not even realize how abused they are being, or they're too scared. And it is really heartbreaking. And no, we don't want to walk around thinking that everyone's abused and telling on people that aren't really abusing their kids and stuff. Like that would be terrible, like falsely accusing someone of something they're not doing, because that would be terrifying for me if someone accused me of something that I wasn't doing. So yeah, of course you got to really be careful, but we need to be aware, like both sides. Like we need to be aware of what could be happening and watch for signs like that. So yeah, and in our situation, like mine and my peers, when we were younger, it was kind of like the debate of, well, was our private school people and the leaders actually mandated reporters, and did they see themselves as that? Because I don't know if they've ever had that kind of training. And hopefully now that like life and the world has evolved and that we were saying out loud the bad things that happened to us, I'm hoping that our old school would have some new training and new policies in place. I don't know that right now. I should look into that and see if they've, upped their systems. But I feel like I've heard rumors about them trying to change things since we've left. So it's the I'm Safe program or I'm Safe prevention. But I would, like I said, try to leave a link, and then they even have like phone numbers listed on the website for you. They have statistics. like 1 in 10 children are sexually abused before their 18th birthday. 90% of child sexual abuse victims are abused by someone they know, which is extremely sad and horrible. 75% of children sexually abused is thought to go unreported. Child sexual abuse is likely the most preventable health program children will experience. So, yeah. So let's all work together on trying to figure out different things that we can do for our kids, educate them in, as well as we can. Because, we're all just, especially as parents, like we're all just doing our best. And if something bad does happen to your child, don't, hate yourself for it, because you don't know what you don't know. And if something were to happen, then all you can do is educate yourself as much as possible on how to help them through it, how to just keep their mind, body, and heart safe and on the right path to healing, get professional help, and just look into, all the things you can possibly do to help them through what has already happened. And then for those of us like that have kids that nothing has happened yet, always keep that door open, keep the communication open, help them understand that no matter what happens in their life, that they're safe to come to you, and you're not gonna, as parents, when something happens, like, oh, they did something wrong or something, it's easy to like overreact right away. But as parents, we have to try really hard to, when they tell us something, good or bad, to try to like count to 10 first, or just try not to react to where they're afraid to tell you something that went wrong. That way, no matter if it's they broke the cookie jar or something bad happened at school or at church or wherever, they can come to you and know that that's a safe place to land, and you won't just right away, because then that makes it scary for them. So yeah, that's what I'm working on, is just making sure that my kids have an open door, and that they know like nothing has to be a problem, and we can, fix things, we can get through them, we can work them out, whatever it is. All right, so the I'm Safe program, what I know about it from the letters that I've gotten from school and from my kids telling me about what they had taught them, is they would share a video with them and show basically somebody kind of going through the experience of someone that wasn't supposed to be touching them, and like how did they handle it and who could they go to. It sounds like really creepy, and they were kind of disturbed at first, but I was really glad that it opened the door to this conversation, because it's very hard as a parent to know, like, when do we start talking about this stuff? How do I tell them, this is an appropriate kind of touch, and this is the person that you can be physical with, because we don't necessarily want to scare them out of having intimacy altogether, and don't want to make them feel ashamed and disgusting if they ever were to be intimate with someone. But it's like, we have to explain that there are certain people that are okay to do that with, and then there are certain people that are absolutely not okay to do that with, and it all can be great and magical, but it has to be with the appropriate person. And that way, as they get older, they're not like feeling disgusting if they accidentally, or whatever, if they, do intimacy things. I'm trying to be careful how I word this, as they get older, and that they're more apt to tell you about it if they don't feel so ashamed. And then we have to have some sort of way to explain to children that there are certain people that are never allowed to do that in no circumstances. So like teachers and pastors and things like that can never touch you in any inappropriate way, because that is wrong. So the I'm Safe program kind of opened that door, and they gave a lesson to the kids, and I had to sign for it to make sure that I was okay with them doing this at school, and that is awesome. And then the other thing that I really like that they did is they gave everyone, all the kids, like looked like a little bookmark. It was like this long rectangle, and it had that I'm Safe on the top, and then it had a list of safe people that they could go to if anything should ever happen to them, if someone tried to do something to them that they were not okay with and that was wrong. They would have a list of people that they could go to. Like, okay, this aunt is on the list of like the first person, or the mom or the dad or whoever. They wanted a list that was a safe person. And then if that person wasn't available, they'd have another person to go to. Or they even said, if you go to one person and they don't help you, then go to the next person. And I thought that was awesome, because sometimes it does fall on deaf ears when bad things happen, or maybe someone doesn't get believed. Sometimes things aren't handled quite appropriately, because maybe that adult really has no experience in that area and has no idea what to do. Maybe they weren't taught, and maybe they have no idea, what tools they even have to deal with something like that. And it's really hard to talk about. It's very hard, especially if it was a family member. A lot of things get brushed under the rug when it's family, because they don't want this uproar, and they don't want to be disowned, or they don't want to get in trouble themselves or accuse anyone. They don't want to get someone in trouble, blah blah blah. There's a million reasons why people don't come forward, and why kids can't come forward, and why when kids do come forward, sometimes it just falls on deaf ears, and it's really sad. Or like our group, it is seen with blind eyes. Like they're seeing it, but they're not really seeing it, and their eyes are just blinded to what's going on. And maybe they choose to be blind, or they're just blind because they're not knowledgeable enough to know what to even do about it. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. And I hope that from now on people are more aware when they're sending their kids to school, like what are their school policies if something happens, how would they handle it, especially private schools and homeschool type situations. Maybe they're not as aware of these things happening, and I would just like to keep letting parents know and kids know that there are ways to prevent, there are ways to heal after something happens, and there's ways to kind of keep everybody a little bit more safe. And yeah, hopefully this program will help a lot of kids, because it said on the website that there was like 2,000 kids took that class this year, or in 2022. And I think that's awesome, because I never even heard of this kind of program. I didn't even know that it existed for schools. Didn't know they did this. So I'm letting you guys know that if your school doesn't, maybe you can suggest it at a parent-teacher conference or at a PTO meeting or something. Be like, hey, what are we doing with our school to help these kids know that there are things that can be done, and there are safety measures that can be happening, and list of safe people that they can tell if something happens, and then explain to children that there are certain people that can touch them in certain ways, and there are certain people that can't, and to just kind of watch out for that.